So at the end of the day, your work speaks, right? That all is afforded to you because of your work. If your work isn't good enough, no matter how many people in an entourage you have around you and all how many of these managers and PR people have, nobody's going to be interested if they're not interested in seeing your work. So it all emanates from the genesis of it all is your work. So concentrate on your work. If you do your work properly, everything else will follow.
For all film-related interviews, reviews and content, please like and subscribe to Pooja Talwar. You can also follow me on Twitter and on Instagram.
Hello.
We're back on the party circuit. We first met in nightclubs in the middle of the night. Same time, much older, in our bedroom, in our pajamas from shirt down.
Exactly. I mean, 9 o'clock is at midnight anyway. So, I mean, that's what the old people do. But Abhishek, many congratulations. I watched the trailer.
Thank you.
Let me start with 2 fan comments that were on top of the trailer launch. One was, AB is surprising us with every production, Breathe, Big Bull, and now this. He has evolved fantastic. Kudos to AB 2.0.
How sweet. Thank you.
So very, very mighty impressed. But पहले मुझे एक बात बता, ये B factor क्या है आपकी जिंदगी में? Breathe, Big Bull, Bob Biswas, क्या हो रहा है? I mean, he means brilliant.
Yeah, they say things come in threes, right? So here we go. This is the third one, the third B.
Awesome. And Bob Biswas. And firstly, it was a physical transformation that actually struck me. So, I mean, you are, I think, on the way to become a Christian Bale. मैंने पहले गुरु में देखा था जब आपने काफी weight gain किया था. इसलिए तो आपने
that's high praise. That's high praise. No, thank you. I mean, I like the fact that we're getting characters that we get to lose ourselves in. I like the fact that, you know, Dia thought of me when she wrote Bob. I like the fact that we've had such a positive response to the look of the character. That means you've done something right. And, you know, I love to hear that, oh, we didn't think we were seeing Abhishek Bachchan. We thought we were seeing Bob. I mean, that's exactly what we were going for. And we want people to really submit to the world of Bob Biswas. And that's only going to be believable if they see characters, not the actors behind them.
You know, but gaining so much weight must have been, I mean, strenuous for a person who is sporty, likes to keep fit. And
it's tough. It's very tough. It was tough to put it on. It's even tougher to maintain it. And, you know, as is popular knowledge, Bob is one of the films that got stuck in the pandemic. We were about 80% through with the film when the lockdown was announced. So we had to leave our huge set that we had put up over there in Kolkata, come back to Mumbai. And to maintain that weight, I mean, I'd become like between 100 and 105 kilos at times for the film. And to maintain that was just not pleasant at all. It was very, very tough. I think, I mean, like as you know, last year in the middle of the lockdown, I got COVID, and post COVID, yes, I did lose a lot of that weight. And then when we managed to resume the film in December of last year, I had to try and top that off. So it wasn't pleasant to keep it on, and it was obviously equally tasking to get rid of it. Because after we finished the shooting, I had literally, I think, 4 to 6 weeks before I was about to start prep on my next project. Thankfully, the makers of my next film gave me 2 months to start the process of losing it. And I continued to lose it during the shoot of that next film and managed to take it all off, thankfully. Yeah.
Awesome. But other than the physical aspect, the mental space of this character, who is, I mean, I would say morally flawed. He's done things that he now doesn't remember in the story that's going to unfold. For an actor, what is the prep like to get into that headspace? Because he's someone absolutely different from what you are as a person.
Well, what was really nice and perhaps easy to a certain extent was that he's lost his memory. So you could have the, you know, rabbit in the headlights kind of approach to it all, that, hey, what's going on? You know, I don't know what's going on. I mean, that was initially how Bob reacts to everything, because he doesn't even know that he has a wife and 2 kids, etc. That also allowed us the opportunity that we got to create a new Bob. Because he's somebody who's discovering and life as he lives it. Because he'd forgotten, he's lost his memory. The other thing that I was very clear about that I wanted to try as a challenge was to maintain a certain emotion and have a foundation of an emotion that goes through the film, and that was of goodness. Bob's a very nice, kind, gentle man. To maintain that whilst doing the unspeakable things that he's made to do is where the fun was. How do you juggle these two opposites? That was the fun of it, and I hope we've managed to achieve that.
But tell me something, when a character, the duality of the two Bobs, for a person and for an actor to also maintain that, actors like you do that, we are in that zone for the time. How difficult is it? Did everyone around you feel he's gone a little, do you feel that?
No, I mean, come on. I mean, we've been doing this for like 21 years, so we're pretty good at switching off from it. Yes, I've always said you do take a bit of your characters back home with you, but just a very little innocuous bit of it. But yeah, you're pretty good at, leaving your work at work.
Awesome. But Abhishek, has your process changed? It's like, your 21st year in the industry. Has the process method changed? What do you look for? I mean, is it the director? Is it the cast?
For me, it's always the process of achieving a character has always been visible first. If I can get the walk of the character, then the rest of it starts falling into place. So I like to crack the walk. For example, when I did Breathe 2 years ago, to get Jay's limp was very important to me. Once I got Jay's limp, then I could, flesh out the rest of the character. In Big Bull, once I cracked his walk, that's when his characteristics came to me. So, he's a very confident, at times arrogant man. So he has this, his gait is always like this and his arms swing like that. Bob is the opposite. Bob has got a lot of weight on him. He's got the weight of the lack of his memory weight. So I wanted him to be slightly hunched. And when he's hunched, it's partially because of his weight. And because of that, I wanted him to waddle a bit when he walks. So he almost rocks like that when he walks. That was only going to be achievable if I had that kind of weight on my stomach, on my face, around my thighs. And putting on the weight helps that. Once I get the walk, then I can start, kind of fleshing out the rest of it. So for me, the process has always been, if I can get the walk, then I'm far more comfortable about doing the rest of it.
And now in this position that you are in, what is important for you? Is it the director? Is it the story? Is it the cast when you choose, say yes to a project?
I think what experience teaches you is that it is in equal amounts, all of it. Filmmaking is a collaborative process. And one weak link can break the chain.
Absolutely.
Yes, the most important person is the director. The director can make or break the film. But if you give a great director a very weak actor, they can try and mess up that film as well. So it's everybody. But yes, amongst all of these, the most important is the director.
And there's one thing I've always wanted to ask you, because I've observed you since your first film, is you don't have an overactive PR machinery. वो हमको नहीं मिलते हैं कि आज अभिषेक बच्चन ने ये किया, कल अभिषेक बच्चन ये करेंगे. You've maintained that aspect very private. If you have to say something, you come online, you speak to us, or we meet physically, or you tweet it. What is it? Like, you've completely kind of not been on that PR bandwagon, brand manager. Entourage nahi hai aapke saath.
Because at the end of the day, your work speaks, right? That all is afforded to you because of your work. If your work isn't good enough, no matter how many people in an entourage you have around you and how many of these managers and PR people have, nobody's going to be interested if they're not interested in seeing your work. So it all emanates from the genesis of it all is your work. So concentrate on your work. If you do your work properly, everything else will follow. And
another thing that I admire about you is you take things on the chin. You prefer to take a break when you felt that things were stagnating and you were not getting the roles you wanted to. You came back and did the stuff you want. It's a very brave thing to do, because in this industry, you कहते नहीं है जो दिखता है वो बिकता है. You have to constantly be around, but you choose to be.
I understand that, but I never looked upon it as brave. For me, I looked upon it more as a necessity. That was my approach to it. This is important. If you don't do it now, you're stuck in this rut forever.
That's awesome. I mean, kudos, applause. I mean, I just, there's so much to learn. And I like the fact that he smiled through it all. So maybe I can take that because I tend to get hyper. Kuch karna hai, kuch karna, kuch karna. But yeah, coming back to Bob, what was fun about this entire process? You had Diya, you had Sujoy. Father-daughter ke vision mein aap ek par gaye, to kaisa tha waise mahal?
It was wonderful. I mean, Diya is such a self-assured young lady. And you will be astounded at the majority of her talent just in her first film. I mean, we forget at times, this is a 25-year-old, 26-year-old kid when she made the film. And to show that kind of dexterity and maturity in her craft at such an early stage of her career, let alone age, is fantastic. It's really, really fantastic. She has such a bright future ahead of her. But by and large, it was just such a wonderful set to be a part of. It was very young, exuberant. They had got, Diya has put together such a wonderful team, a wonderful group of actors. From newcomers like Samara and Ronit, who were playing our children, Chitrangada and my children, to Chitrangada, to legends like Porunda, who's one of the stalwarts of Bengali cinema. And just to sit and first admire the enthusiasm with which he was working at his age, and then just to see his genius at work and so effortless, and it was just fantastic. You feel so blessed in scenarios like that.
Awesome. And also, interpreting Bob's character. I mean, I'm not getting into Kahani because this is a separate story, and spin-offs are very, very difficult. It's something very new. So for an actor to approach this, because it's a spin-off,
I think we were lucky because Bob's lost his memory. Bob's lost his memory, so you're lucky. You don't fall into the traps of a spin-off. Tomorrow, if the opportunity arises and if the makers decide to make, say, perhaps a sequel of Bob, then you have to worry about that. But because Bob doesn't have a memory, then it was a blank piece of paper that we got to sketch on.
Does that get a little tough though? Because you try to interpret the character? Why did he behave the way he did? Bring your own interpretation to it, or do you go by what the director?
Oh yes, of course. I mean, I wanted to bring my flavor to it. I want to give my spin and interpretation to Bob, and I think we managed that because Diya allowed me that. She never laid any restrictions that this is the only way he's going to do it. The only thing Diya and I, through our multiple and extensive discussions, a decision we arrived to is people must leave the film empathizing and loving Bob. They have to empathize with him and they have to love him, despite him doing whatever he does. So when you have that as a goal, then you know how to achieve it. There's a certain pleasantness with which Bob had to be approached. And we've tried that.
I'm surely looking forward to do that. And, sometimes you do empathize with the so-called bad man or whatever, because every saint is a sinner and every sinner could be a saint. So, we are all black and white. So, a question, jate. आप में पंजाबी, बंगाली, यूपी की जीना खाना बड़ा अच्छा मिलता है. जब भी weight gain कर रहे थे, anything that you loved binging on and that you're missing at the moment?
Listen, we were shooting Bob in Kolkata in winter. Okay, Nolen Sandesh, Matcha Kathi rolls.
Wow.
Kolkata biryani, which is the best, and all the street food, the puchkas, everything. And shooting with Sujoy, who's from Calcutta, he knew all the nooks and corners and all the gullies, and we binged on a lot of it. Oh, the kosha mongsho, winter morning. I used to start my morning with jol bora sandesh.
Oh, the joys of gaining weight, but it's so painful when you lose it.
Joys of gaining weight.
So painful when you lose it, but more power to you, Abhishek, and I hope to meet you in person soon. But keep doing the good work, and hopefully हम जल्दी मिलेंगे.
जी, बहुत ही जल्द. And as Bob says, namaskar.
And Happy New Year.
To you too.
Take care. Lots of love.
Bye.
And if you've liked this interview, please like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram.